Hi everyone, it's Susan Jones and welcome back to my Sunday Spotlight. This week, before I actually dive into the video, I wanted to go ahead and share about a 4-week writing challenge that I'm currently holding with a bunch of teachers. The challenge actually started yesterday, but if you're watching this video, I will go ahead and include a link down in the description where you can go ahead and join us because it is going to last 4 weeks. So I'll make sure that when you click that link below and you fill out your name and email, you'll automatically be sent the first week's email. Essentially, over 4 weeks, I'm going to send along one writing strategy to work on with your K-2 learners, and we can kind of focus on it together for that week. So you can listen to me, I'll teach you the strategy, and I'll show you how to use it with your class, and then you can try it out in your class, and we'll even have a little pop-up Facebook group where you can ask any questions, provide any feedback, say, hey, this was awesome, or hey, this really didn't work, are there any ways I can tweak this to try to make it work, things like that. Many of you already know that I've been really focusing on writing in the K-2 classroom and some of the best research and strategies to use, so I thought this would be a fun way to kind of share little bits of knowledge with you guys. So if you want to do that, go ahead and, like I said, click the link in the description below. I mentioned that at the front of this week's video because today I'm going to share 2 pre-writing strategies that you can use in the classroom. Let's dive in. When we're talking about pre-writing in the classroom, I always kind of think of pre-writing in 2 different ways. Pre-writing is, of course, what we do before we actually write things down. Now, in the older grades, 3 through 5, middle school, high school, and even college, there are so many different ways to brainstorm and, throw all your thoughts on paper. There's things like looping, mind mapping, and kind of organizing your thoughts. But so much of that requires students to be able to actually write things down on paper. And as many of you know, our K-2 students are really still working on some of those basics. So I thought I would share a couple ideas for pre-writing that don't require writing because it's pre-writing. But these ideas will have your students brainstorming and thinking about what they want to write because, as you also know, your K-2 students have a ton of ideas and a ton of stories to tell. They just might not have all the tools to do it yet. So when I think of pre-writing, I do think of it in 2 different ways, as I said earlier. One of the first ways I think about pre-writing is when I'm introducing a new type of writing unit, like personal narratives, or procedural how-to writing, or an informative research-based book. When I'm doing that, this kind of pre-writing I'm talking about, I really want students to kind of get an idea or have a brainstorming session about the types of topics they can write about within each of these genres. The other type of pre-writing is the type of pre-writing that you should really have your students do every single day before they go back to their independent writing station. So I'm going to share one of each. The first pre-writing strategy I'm going to talk about is called blueprints, and I actually got to practice this one myself in my grad school class last semester, where we had to essentially think of a place that was really special to us. Now, I would do this with my students when I'm introducing personal narratives, and it would also really help them if they are writing any sort of fiction piece. So what you'll do is you will have students close their eyes, and they are going to go ahead and first they're going to visualize a place that has some sort of special meaning to them. This could be their bedroom, their grandmother's house, one of the parks down the street, any place that just brings about a special feeling to them. Once they have this place in their mind, I start to kind of guide them through this visualization, this blueprint. I ask them to think about, what does this place look like? Where is it? Is it inside? Is it outside? Pretend you're at the entrance to this place. So maybe it's the entrance of the park, or the door to the bedroom, or the door to your grandmother's house. I actually have them practice walking through the door. What do they see? What's on the walls? Is anybody there? Now, as you're walking through, I really ask them to think about their feelings. How does what you're seeing make you feel? Why do you think it makes you feel this way? And we have them kind of walk through their experience. And then when I'm done with that, I have them actually go back to their seats and they will actually draw what they saw. They will draw their blueprint. Now I'll go ahead and insert a picture of what these blueprints kind of look like. Here's my teacher modeling example. And when I do model this with them, I go ahead and perform this first. I think aloud as I walk them through my own grandmother's house and what I'm seeing and how I'm feeling. And on my blueprint, you'll actually see that I will go ahead and draw the little emotions of how I'm feeling when I talk about each of the places in this special place of mine. What this activity does is it really activates their memories and it gets them thinking about their past experiences, and they can either use this experience or this place or a story that has happened here to write about in their own personal narrative, or that can spark some other ideas, and it kind of just gets the train rolling for them. You don't need any sort of special paper for this blueprint because everybody's place is going to look a little different, so just a plain piece of paper totally works for this activity. The next pre-writing activity I wanted to share with you today is one that you can use with any writing lesson, and it's called I Spy. Now, many of your students are familiar with the game I Spy as they're looking around the room saying I spy something red, and they have to ask questions, but for this we are going to use mentor texts. It is always important for students of all ages to be able to see great writing in action, but especially with our youngest students, it's not just enough for them to hear it. When we're asking them to go ahead and write and use these writing skills in their own writing, they really need to see it first. So let's pretend I'm teaching a lesson on transition words, and I am talking about how good authors will sometimes use transition words to, lead the reader throughout the story. It's one thing to create the anchor chart, explain what they are, and make a big list of them, but it's another thing for students to find them themselves in the stories that they are reading. So for this activity, it is important to either have a mentor text displayed under a doc cam or a projector so everyone can see it, or to use a really big book. But in I Spy, your goal is to essentially read the story out loud while students are keeping their eyes peeled, they have their I Spy little glasses on, and they are trying to find those transition words that you talked about. Now, I love this strategy because, like I said, it can be used for any writing lesson. So it might be transition words in a fiction story or in a how-to story. It might be after you explained that good writers will go into their illustrations and add character emotions like smiles or frowny faces, or sometimes their eyebrows are pointed like this if they're angry. Like I said earlier, it's important to explain these things to your students, but it's even more powerful for them to see it themselves from authors already doing this. So for that example, as you're reading, students are really looking at the illustrations and they're seeing how did the author or the illustrator go ahead and draw those emotions on the characters' faces. Like I said, they might see things like their eyebrows are pointed down because they're angry, or maybe they're embarrassed and their cheeks are red, or they can see a tear coming from their eyes. Those illustrations help the reader see how that character is feeling, and now your students, as they're observing it and really looking for it in other stories, they now have some ideas about how they could go back and add it to their own texts. Like I said, the I Spy pre-writing strategy really works with any writing skill that you're teaching. Go ahead and explain what you want students to do. You can show it to them in your own writing piece if that's what you're doing, but I really like the I Spy one because they can see how different authors do it so many different ways. So there you have two different pre-writing strategies that you can go ahead and use with your primary writers in the classroom. If you try them out, let me know how they go down below in the comments, or if you have any questions, as always, just type them down there and I will get back to you. As I'm filming this video, there are over 500 teachers already signed up for the 4-week writing challenge that I explained earlier. I think it'll be a lot of fun to just kind of, even if it's not a new strategy or skill that I'm teaching each week, it's something that you may have already known but may need a little reminder on, or just a good time to focus and try to get better at your writing teaching craft as the year progresses. So if you want to join us, just click that link down in the description. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up so I know, and make sure you are subscribed to my channel. If you want to get notified of every new week's video, be sure to click that bell. That way you get an email every time I upload a new one. See you next Sunday. Bye.